Once upon a time, there was a young man, and this young man lived a wild life when he was a young single man, and he sowed his oats, as the expression goes, and he lived the life. And he had many, many, many friends of the male and the female nature, many girlfriends, many parties, he was living the good life. All of a sudden, as what happens with every guy, when they meet the right girl, it all changes. And this guy met the right girl. I think it was at the Tuesday night crew meeting as well, okay? Little plug for that meeting as well, all right? Meets the right girl, a girl of his dreams, the best girl, but she's a church girl, so she's most likely not going to go for his party lifestyle. So he tells this girl that she's the real deal, and he pulls out all the lines, and, you know, your eyes, the stars, and your nose, and your hair, and all this kind of stuff, and he pulls it all out. And she kind of likes him. But she knows that his lifestyle was like that, so she doesn't let herself like him, because she knows that's how he was. He's a persistent guy. He's going to get her means he's going to get her. So he starts chasing after her, and he's there. And he knows that she likes to go to church, so he goes to church. And he knows that she doesn't like when he's out partying, so he cuts back the party. He tries to get his life in order. And then eventually, he's persistent enough, she agrees to go out with him. And now that she goes out with him, he starts putting on, starts making the changes that he needs to make, and putting on the good face and living the good life, and he's trying to do everything the right way. And he keeps telling her, I want to marry you. And she says, not yet. I want to marry you. And she says, not yet, because she's still waiting to see. Finally, one day, she decides that he's proved himself. And he's proved himself that he's worthy. So she tells him, I love you, and I want to commit to you too. Happy. Okay, they're happy, so happy. So they, high-five each other. Okay, high-five. Keeping it clean. Okay. My kids are still here, okay? Keeping it clean. High-five each other. All right? And they just high-fiving like all kinds of high-fiving. All right? And they start to plan the wedding day, and they start to order the flowers and the dresses and the rings and all this kind of stuff, and they're going to live happily ever after. That's what they're both dreaming. Then one day comes, and it's a Sunday, and it's his birthday. She wants to do something special for him. So she says, I'm going to go out and buy him this nice gift. All right? I'll buy him 2 tickets to go see, and then insert your sport of choice. Okay? Let's say hockey. Okay? To see the hockey bowl or whatever. Okay? So she buys him 2 tickets, and she's going to surprise him on his birthday. So she says, when I see him at church, I'm going to surprise him. He doesn't show up at church. That's a little strange. She calls. No answer. She sends a text message. No answer. This is kind of strange. Maybe he's sick. Maybe he's something. So she says, you know what? I'm sure he's probably he's sick and in bed and he couldn't even get up. So I'm going to go to his apartment. And I'm going to give him the tickets. I'm going to surprise him. Y'all see where I'm going? Maybe this is your story. She gets to the apartment. She knocks on the door. All of a sudden, he opens the door. He says, oh, it's great to see you. And they high five. Okay. And then he says, come on in. She comes on in. The game is on. The TV is watching the game. And there's a girl sitting on the couch. One of the former girls. Let me just pause this story right now and ask you, who thinks that the end of the story is, and they lived happily ever after? If you do think that, you're a single guy. You'll probably be single for a while. Jessica, stay away from those, okay? They raise their hand, okay? Is there any chance that this story ends with, hey, sweetheart, pull up a chair. Let's watch the game together. You can't. This relationship, right now, the minute girl A is on the couch, The minute the girl is on the couch, the relationship is over. It's done. There's no way this can exist. Does anyone disagree with me? Does anyone think that, you know what, the girls should, be understanding, and it takes time, and, old habits die hard, and, love and integration and outreach and all this kind of stuff? Anyone think that's how the story should go? Everyone agrees with me that the story ends with the relationship being over the instant that girl A sits on the couch. Agree? Agree? Good. The same is true about your worship of God. We spoke before about worship, and I defined worship as worth-ship, or applying worth or value to something or someone. And if God is going to be the one that we worship above all else, then by definition, everything else's worth must go down for God's worth to go up. By definition. When something's value goes up, everything else's value must go down in order for this one to be up. For me to say, I value you to my wife, that means I must devalue the other girls. I cannot continue to value them in the same manner that I valued them before. And if I did, that means that I don't really value my wife. Agree? The decision to worship God is a decision that affects every decision for the rest of your life. The decision, before I asked you how much you love God, you said this much. That decision is going to affect every decision for the rest of your life. Or at least it should. Just as the decision to love my wife, this much, will affect every decision for the rest of my life. Because you cannot place ultimate value on two entities or two people at the same time. It's just not possible. Look at this verse from Matthew chapter 6, verse 24. Listen to what Jesus said. Jesus said, no one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will be loyal to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon. You know what? We all know this verse, and we look at this verse, and how do we usually interpret this verse? This verse means that, God is number one, so you should love him more than you love anything else. That's how we interpret it. You should love God more than anything else. That is not what this verse says. That is not what this verse says. What does this verse say? This verse, the key words in this verse are the ones that I'm underlining. Can and cannot. This verse does not say that you should love God more than anything else. This verse says that you cannot love God and love anything else. It says that you cannot worship God and worship anything else. You cannot serve God and serve anything else. Not God is saying like you shouldn't, saying it's an impossibility. I'm not saying that you should try your best not to do it. I'm saying that it is impossible to worship two gods. It is impossible to worship two gods. You either go left or you go right, but you cannot go both. You ever feel like there's a ceiling on your spiritual life? You ever felt that way? I felt that way. There's a ceiling. Like, you can't get past a certain point. Like, you try, you pray, you get up early, but you can't. And you go to church, and you sing the songs, and you read the readings, and you stand, and you do everything you're supposed to do, but it's just, something's just not, You know what that feels like? Just feels like there's like a ceiling. I'm telling you, the problem, 9 out of 10 times, when you have a ceiling in your spiritual life, is not lack of effort. It's not, because y'all are the good people. The bad people, it's lack of effort. Y'all are the good people. Y'all are in church on a Friday night. Y'all are good people. It's not lack of effort. It's also not lack of desire. God knows our hearts, and God knows your heart, that you want it so badly. I don't think the problem is lack of effort. I don't think the problem is lack of desire. I think the problem is there are thieves out there. There are thieves out there trying to steal our worship. Because if, like I said in the last session, that if my worship to God, that's the key to me being intimacy with God, is me worshiping God, me placing ultimate value, and that's the most important thing. If that's really the most important thing, then you better believe there are going to be thieves out there trying to steal that worship. and they are trying to steal it and put it over here. And they're trying to steal it and direct it over there. Because your worship of God is more important than anything else. Therefore, stealing your worship is the devil's number one priority. Remember when Jesus was on the mountain in Matthew chapter 4, fasting 40 days and 40 nights? The devil was tempting him. The devil tempted him and tempted him and tempted him. Remember what the devil said to him at one point? Look what it says up on the screen. And he said to him, meaning the devil said to Jesus, all these things I will give you, if you will fall down and worship me. And Jesus said to him, away with you, Satan, for it is written, you shall worship the Lord your God, and him only you shall serve. What was the devil trying to do to Jesus? He was trying to steal his worship. He was trying to pull a fast one on him. Yeah. I'm with you, man. I'm with you. Hey, give me a little bit of your worship, and I'll give you everything. Just a little bit of your worship. Just worship me a little. Did you know that today there's a war on your worship? A war for your worship? Your worship? Your worship. Your heart determining the highest place in your heart. Okay? Number one, in your heart, that place. There's a war for that. There's a war for that. And God has laid his claim to that place. And as soon as God did, and God said, that's the most valuable to me, and then the devil said, okay, you know what? Well, that's the most valuable to me too. And I got armies, and I got legions, and we're not going to stop until we get that worship. There's a war for your worship, and you're not even realizing this war is taking place. And it's trying to steal that most valuable part of you, which is your worship that you apply. And the devil's good. He's a creative little guy, isn't he? He can use all kinds of things to steal your worship. Usually he starts you off with bad things. Drinking, drugs, sex, partying. He starts you off with those things. But then usually we get to a point where we realize that stuff is vanity of vanities. That stuff is worthless. There comes a point in time where we realize, I don't want that stuff. You think the devil's going to stop? You think the devil stops once you stop partying? Just trying to steal your worship? No, then when the devil stops using the bad things, he starts to use the good things. How can the devil use the good things? The devil use your family. Family is a good thing. The devil can use that to steal your worship. Make them higher than God. The devil can use your close friends. Make it higher than God. The devil can use your service. The devil can use your service. The devil's a sharp guy. He ain't just born yesterday. The devil can use your job. The devil can use anything. Because that's how valuable your worship is. Earlier, we looked at the first commandment that God ever gave. He gave his big 10 rules. And it said very, very clearly, no other gods before me. Again, what does this verse mean? What does this verse mean in light of what I just said? Does this verse mean that we are not allowed to have place any value on anything else in life? Don't do anything, just go to church all day? Don't read nothing else, just read the Bible all day? Don't talk to no one, just talk to the priest all day? I'm telling you no to that one, okay? I'm voting no on that one. Is that what this verse means? Like, is that what God is saying? Like, don't have any life, any interest, any hobbies, because that's oftentimes what we think, and that keeps us away from God. I'd go to God, but I want to have a life. You know what I mean? I'll be honest, that kept me away from God. I used to think when I was younger, kid's not here, okay? When I was younger, okay, I wasn't that into church. You know why? Because I thought all the kids who were into church basically had no friends in school. They just got friends in church because that was like poor man's version of friends. People would be like, come to church. And I'd be like, I don't want to come to church. Why? Because I want to have a life. I don't want to be in church. I want to have a life. Like, I want to go to football games. I want to watch TV. I want to smile. Like, what do I go to church for? And there's this idea out there that's like, either like you love God and you're just a miserable person for the rest of your life, or you have a life and you're far from God. But is that what this verse means? Jesus wanted to clarify this. Because Jesus knew that sometimes that we kind of misinterpret things. So Jesus clarified. In the New Testament, he again spoke about the first commandment, but he put it in a different way. He did it in a positive way, not in a negative way. You shall love the Lord. This is Mark 12:30. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength. This is the first commandment. So the people in the past knew the first commandment was no other gods. And Jesus said, it is the first commandment, but let me explain it a little bit better. Instead of just saying the negative, let me tell you the positive. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, with all your strength. Does this mean I can't love anything else? If 100% of my heart is with God, it says, all your heart, does that mean that my heart can't love anything else? I ain't no math major, but if you got 100% with God, that don't leave much room for other stuff. If all is with God, that don't leave much room for other stuff. So this verse is validating my extremist theory that I had when I was a kid. That God is saying, don't watch TV, don't do fun stuff, don't go shopping, don't eat out, just be a miserable, miserable person. And like have a beard and dress in black all day. How do we reconcile what God is saying here to the truth? Let me say it this way, and I'll say it, you think about it, and then I'll explain it. I'm not supposed to love anything next to God. I should only love them through God. I'm not supposed to love anything next to God. I should only love them through God. You see, the Bible said, Jesus said, you love God with all your heart. So that does leave no room for anything else. But who said that you can't love God and love, I'm going to use my example, I'm a football guy. I love football. Okay, football for me, I love to watch football. When I was younger, I used to play football. Okay, I'm not going to let my kids play because I want them to get concussions. But luckily, I didn't have a concussion. All right, I love football. I love church. Sunday is the greatest day in the whole wide world for me because it's church, it's fellowship, body and blood, football. Okay, it's the best. Okay, and if you don't think God likes football, you tell me, why did He put it on His day off? Okay. So my theory in life is that when I love football, I don't have to choose between God or football. I can love I can love football through God. I can love football through God. Now I'm not joking, now I'm being serious. Okay? I can love things in life through God. I don't have to put everything away and just lock myself in a cave and not love anything. However, if football is against the love of God, football's got to go. If football is against the love of God, football's got to go. That's why you're not going to trick me into get any of these discussions. Are we allowed to watch? We're not allowed to watch. Are we allowed to go to movies? We're not allowed to go to movies. Are we allowed to watch TV? We're not allowed to watch TV. Look, and make it simple. I'm a married man, okay? The day that football takes me away from my wife, I can't watch football no more. That's that simple. I can't say, sweetheart, I love you. We're not married for the next hour and a half while I watch this football game. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And if there's anything in life, are we allowed to watch football? Are we allowed to go shopping? Are we allowed to go out to eat? Are we allowed to, yeah. If you do it with God, through God, absolutely. But if it takes you away from God, then absolutely not. That's why we don't have absolutes. We don't have this absolute, like, these things are good, these things are bad. Don't do that kind of nonsense. When I'm married, if I'm married, and I hang out with these friends, and my wife is cool with it, then that's cool. If she hates their guts, and they hate her guts, then it's not cool. It's that simple. Bottom line in life, when I ask you, what are the things that have crept into your life that are taking you away from God? What would you say? Maybe there's a hobby that is taking you away from God. And that hobby may not be bad in and of itself, but for you it's bad. It may be a show. Maybe a relationship. A relationship. Is it bad for a boy and a girl to be friends? No, but maybe it's bad for you and this boy to be friends. Maybe it's bad for you and this girl to be friends. I'm not saying boys and girls is bad. Maybe it is for you. I'm not saying watching TV shows is bad. Maybe it is for you. If that TV show takes your mind to those places, then that show is bad. That show may not be bad to anyone else in the world, but to you it's bad. Y'all see how this goes? I don't have to say, I love nothing else, only God, I'm miserable. I say, I love God, and God has given me personality. God has given me, like, things that I like, passions. And I can love those things through God. Never next to God. Never like, okay, now's my God time, now's my football time. And the two have no correlation. Okay? Again, when I was younger, that's the way I used to be with basketball. Okay? I like to play a lot of basketball. But I got to a point in my life where I stopped playing basketball. I went back now, but I went for a stop. Why? Because for me, what it was my God time, and then basketball was a different me. Basketball was a different me. And I didn't like the me that was in basketball. I didn't like who it was becoming. And someone called me out on it, and I remember when they called me out, and I said, you know what, I'm not playing basketball anymore. Is basketball bad? No, basketball is great. But for me, it was bad. Because I was putting it next to God. And I wasn't loving it through God. What in your life, if you have that ceiling, what has crept into your life that is pushing God? Back to the girl on the couch analogy. You and God are on the couch. What girl is coming and nudging him over? Okay? What girl is coming and trying to sneak a cheek in on the couch? All right? And trying to slither her way in on that couch. That girl's got to go. Now, just for the sake of argument, sometimes I like to ask questions. I'm an inquisitive person. Sometimes I wonder to myself, like, God, you're God. You make the rules, right? So God can make whatever rules he wants, right? Like one time my kid asked me, like we explained to the kids about like healthy eating and these foods and these foods. My kid asked a very good question. Why can't chocolate be healthy? That's a great question. If I'm God, chocolate is healthy. Like if you have the ability, like questions we'll never know. God, another question for you. Why are idols so bad? Like, let's be honest. I know it's bad. But, like, I'm your son. Explain it to me. I don't really get it. Why is it so bad? Like, I'm weak. It's so easy for me to get sucked into this or sucked into this. Why is it so bad? Why do you make such a big deal out of it? Why not live and let live? The answer to any question of why God, the answer to any question of why God, the answer is always one word. What's that one word? The answer is always love. Because God is love. So why God did you? Alright? So anytime you start to ask a question, this happens a lot of time with the Old Testament. Why did God? The answer is love. Because that's who God is. And just because you don't understand it, just because his love is way above your form of love, doesn't mean that it's not love. It just means that maybe you're not love. So the answer to anything, God, why did you? Love. I don't understand it, but it's love. So God, why is it such a big deal, these idols? Love. Okay, how love? I thought about it like a father with a child. Why a father makes such a big deal to his children and say, don't touch that. And you can't touch that. You touch that, you're out the house. Why? Because a father always looks to protect his children. That's the number one thing about a father, is protect his children. And I'll tell you three things that God is trying to protect us from when it comes to idols. First thing is he knows that idols will never satisfy me. He's doing it for my good. He knows that as much as I drink of the idols and drink of the idols and drink of the idols, I end up more thirsty and thirsty and thirsty. So he's saying, no idols allowed. Why, God, I want it? No idols allowed. Why? Because I know it's not good for you. Look at this verse, and you tell me if this verse is true or not. Ecclesiastes 5:10. Whoever loves money never has money enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with his income. Is that true or not true? Man, that's more true than you know. Which is why we, I'll put Canada and the United States together, live in the richest place in the whole wide world, yet we are the people who complain the most in the whole wide world about what we don't have. Is that not true or not true? We have more than anyone else in the whole wide world, yet we complain more than anyone else in the whole wide world. And we've been given more stuff than anyone else in the whole wide world, yet we say we're lacking this and we need this, and we complain the president didn't do that, and the government didn't do that, and, you know, the king didn't do that, or whatever, the queen didn't do that, whatever it is, all right? The czar, okay? Whatever. We complain. Prime Minister, I knew that one. Prime Minister, okay? Prime Minister. Non-judgmental. Outreach, integration, love, okay? God knows that idols will never satisfy me. You know who has made a living off of this principle? That the wealthy will never satisfy, and the rich are never satisfied. You know? Apple. And don't tell me that ain't true. Don't tell me that ain't true. Because they make an iPhone. iPhone's the most important thing in the whole wide world. Then they convince you, you have the iPhone. What, you have only the one? You can't live with the one. You need the two. Oh, I gotta have the two. The two is the most important thing in the whole wide world. And no one can live without a two. You got a two? Do you know there's one that talks to you now? How you survived in life all these years without a talking phone? And they got people lined up like idiots outside of these stores. And by the looks on your faces, I see some of the idiots here, apparently. God, point them out, point them out. Convinced that they cannot exist another day without this new phone that talks to them. Idols never satisfy you. Number two thing about idols, as we see again with Mr. Apple, Mr. Steve Jobs, is eventually idols enslave you. They enslave us. That it starts out as something, and then eventually we become slaves. That, like I said, we're waiting outside the store. We can't resist. We need an oven, and we need the newest, and we need the latest, and all this kind of stuff. Again, I'm not saying having a new phone is bad. Please be very clear on that one. I'm not trying to say that you have to have this. I'm not saying it like that. What I'm saying is what 1 Corinthians 6:12 says, that all things are lawful, but all things are not necessarily helpful. I will not be brought under the power of any. God gives us things, good things. And what happens is, we don't have the right worship on God. We start to put more worth in those things. We abuse them. And we abuse them, and eventually they start to abuse us until they enslave us. And then eventually, idols are never satisfied with enslaving you. Idols are not satisfied until they ultimately destroy you, just like any addiction. I'll tell you some wisdom from my mom. My mom had a saying that she used to always say. All right, and forgive the poor English, but this is mom, so you can't say nothing about mom. Start with the laugh, end with the cry. That's what she used to always say. She used to say it like me. I got two brothers, so 3 boys in the house. All right, and we oftentimes, like, it would start off with messing around. Usually it was around video games. I was playing video games. All right, and then my younger brother, who's 9 years younger, was always the best one at the video games. All right, and he'd always beat the pants off of us. All right, and then one time, you know what I mean, once in a blue moon, all right, the sun would rise and shine down upon me, and I'd have that breakthrough game where I'm beating him. All right, and it's, you know, the 4th quarter with 5 minutes left in the game, and I'm winning, and I'm going to win, and we're laughing, and we're joking, and what does he do? Hits the reset button on that game. All right? He hits the reset, and I hit something else, okay? And we would go to blows, and it would get serious, all right, and we'd throw stuff and all this kind of stuff. So anytime, and of course he would laugh, because you know I'd get in trouble. My mom would always say, when we're playing, and we start the jawing and the talking, she'd say, start with the laugh, end with the cry. I think if you ask God, okay, God, I'm starting to get involved with this hobby, this whatever, God of them say, start with the laugh, end with the cry. You start off, what happens is those idols, and like I said, I'm not even talking about bad things, I'm talking about good things. I'll give you a good example. How about family? Is family a good thing? Family's a great thing. Honor your father and mother. First commandment with promise. God loves honor your father and mother. But is there a way that you can make an idol out of your father and mother? Oh, you bet there is. Jesus said this in Matthew 10:37. He said, he who loves his father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. He who loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. A lot of people make an idol out of family. This is the mom who worships her kid. Worships her kid. Her kid is the ultimate value in her life. And I'm not saying it's bad to love your kids. You love your kids. But something's going to happen to you, moms. Kids are going to move out. Kids are going to move away. Kids are going to get married. Something wrong with you, not wrong with you, son or daughter who value your mom so much. Hey, that's great. You honor her. You value her. That can become a problem if your mom gets sick. Something happens to your mom and your life is destroyed. I'm not saying don't be sad for moms, but I'm saying if your life is destroyed, something ain't right. You didn't get married. You know how many marriages have problems because she worships her mom? Or even worse, when he worships his mom? Guys, that's not good. Okay? No lady wants that. But I'm saying that's an example of something good. Starts with the laugh, ends with the cry. So here's our homework for tonight. It's a violent night, but don't worry, this isn't Jesus with a gun this time, okay? This one was intentional. This is who I want you to be, okay, in a highly symbolic way, okay? Not in a literal way at all, okay? I want you to be Terminator when it comes to your idols. Tonight we leave like Terminator, a man or a woman on a mission. And our mission, declare and destroy. We're going to walk out of here, and we are going to find any idols in our lives. We're going to examine our lives, and we're going to be introspective, and we're going to call it like it is. We're not going to beat around the bush. We're not going to sugarcoat stuff. We're going to call sin, sin. And we're going to call idols, idols. And we're going to declare and say, that's a sin. That's an idol. That's the girl on the couch. That girl pushed Jesus off the couch. That girl, that's the girl. And we're going to look and we're going to search. Because the Bible teaches us that any time he who covers his sin will not prosper. But he who declares it will find prosperity. We're going to find anything in our life that looks like an idol. And then we're going to destroy it. And then we're going to take aim. We are going to go all out guerrilla warfare, beat down on this idol. And we are not going to negotiate with the idol. We're not going to play around with the idol. We're not going to have discussions with the idol. We're going to hit the idol in the back of the head with our shoe. Twice. We're going to get him as far away as possible. We're going to destroy him. Because that's what God taught us in the Old Testament when we talk about destroying idols. He also taught it in the New Testament. Let me show you this verse. There's a verse that, again, we all know, but I think we water down this verse sometimes. Read with me this verse, Matthew 9:25-29, and listen to what it's saying. He's saying, if your right eye causes you to sin, pluck it out and cast it from you. For it is more profitable for you that one of your members perish than for your whole body to be cast into hell. Listen to what Jesus is saying. Jesus, the all-merciful, the all-kind, the all-compassionate, the ever-patient, the one who never hurt a fly. But all of a sudden, he started talking here, and he said, if your eye, pluck it out. Now, I ain't no doctor, but if I was, and someone comes to me and says, I have a problem in my eye, I don't think my first course of action would be to pluck your eye out. I think I would say, Jesus, slow down, okay? Here is some eye drops. Why don't we try that for a few weeks, okay? Let's see how it goes. Maybe one of those heat pad kind of things, okay? Grew up in an Egyptian household, you know when your mom puts the towel in the that thing, okay? Let's try that. Let's give that a shot. But why are we moving to major surgery right off the get-go?